When you see a picture of a magnificent tiger, you just go, wow, right? India ka jo jungle hain, jo pahad hain, Nadia. They are absolutely teeming with the most incredible life. But what if I told you something kind of shocking? For every 10 different plants or trees you see, one of them is already in danger, on a list, about to disappear forever. In this explainer, we're going to uncover the truth behind India's vanishing treasures, and more importantly, we're going to meet the real heroes who are fighting to save them. Just look at this number for a second. 10%. Now, this isn't some score in an exam. No, this is the percentage of India's recorded wild flora, all our wild plants and trees that are on the threatened list. And honestly, it gets worse. 20% of our mammals are on that exact same list. This isn't just a statistic, It's a silent alarm bell, and it is ringing loud and clear right now.
So the big question is, ये सब जा कहाँ रहा है? Are they just, poof, vanishing into thin air? Well, the answer is a lot more complicated. And believe me, it affects every single one of us. To figure it out, we first need to understand the game of life itself. Okay, let's get into it.
I want you to imagine life on Earth not as some boring chapter in a science book, but as a giant, super intense game of Jenga. In this first part, we're going to understand biodiversity using this really simple game, and you'll see just how fragile our world truly is.
So what even is this big word biodiversity? Put simply, it's all the different kinds of life you can find in one area. धरती पर हर तरह की life, from the tiniest little ant to the gigantic blue whale. Now picture that Jenga tower. Every single species, every plant, every animal and bird is one single Jenga block. You pull out one block, let's say a tiny species of frog, and the tower still stands. You pull out another, maybe a type of wild grass, and it still seems okay. But as you keep removing these blocks, one by one, the whole tower gets wobbly, it gets unstable, and at some point by removing just one more block, the whole system can come crashing down. That, my friends, is our ecosystem.
So, how do we know which block in our Jenga tower is getting loose? Well, for that, we have something like a global danger meter. It's called the IUCN Red List. Think of it as a health report card for every species, which classifies them into different levels of danger. Come on, let's understand some of the most important levels. First up, endangered. ये वो species हैं जो extinction की finish line के एकदम पास खड़ी हैं. They are facing a very, very high risk of just disappearing from the wild completely. If we don't take immediate, focused action to save them, तो ये block गिर जाएगा. The beautiful black buck, for instance, is walking this tightrope every single day. Next, we have vulnerable. Now, these are the species whose populations are dropping really fast. They aren't endangered just yet, but they are pretty much knocking on the door. You can think of them as being in the danger zone's waiting room. अगर हमने ध्यान नहीं दिया, if we don't pay attention, तो ये जल्द ही endangered category में, well, promote हो जाएंगे. A perfect and honestly heartbreaking example is our very own majestic Asiatic elephant. Then we have the rare species. इनकी population naturally ही काफी छोटी होती है, and they often live in very specific, small geographical areas. So for them, even a tiny threat, like a new road being built through their forest, can push them straight onto the endangered list. It's that serious. The absolutely stunning hornbill is a great example of a rare species that we have to protect. And finally, extinct. ये Jenga tower का वो block है जो गिर चुका है. It's gone, forever. These are species that no longer exist anywhere on this planet. For us, they are now alive only in history books, in museums, and in stories. And the most powerful Indian example? The Asiatic cheetah. It was declared extinct in India way back in 1952. It's like looking at an old family photo album and seeing an empty space where a loved one used to be. You just can't bring them back. So, why is our Jenga tower so wobbly? Who is it that's pulling out these blocks so fast? To find the real culprit, we actually need to travel back in time a little bit and uncover the root of the problem. So let's move to our next section, Jungle Kasafaya, the problem of deforestation.
You know, the main villain of our story is this one word, deforestation. In simple terms, it's the clearing of forests on a massive scale. But here's the thing, ये कोई आज की problem नहीं है. इसकी जो जड़ें हैं, its roots, they go really deep into our history.
This timeline here shows it perfectly. Let's break it down. During the colonial era, the British didn't really see India's forests as homes for wildlife.
They saw them as a source of revenue. They cut down countless trees to expand the railways, for sleepers, and for shipbuilding. Phir aayi independence. After freedom, we had a growing population to feed, so we needed land for farming. The priority was food security, so forests were cleared for agriculture. And now, in modern times, the scale is just bigger. Large dams, river valley projects, and massive mining operations are swallowing thousands and thousands of hectares of forest in one go.
Just take a moment and look at this image. ये सिर्फ पेड़ नहीं कट रहे हैं. This is a home being destroyed. It's a water source drying up. It is a life support system for millions of people and animals silently shrinking before our eyes. This is the real face of deforestation.
So what's pushing this destruction today? Well, one major cause, especially in tribal areas, is something called shifting cultivation, or slash and burn. Basically, a patch of forest is cut down and burned to clear land for farming. After a few years, when the soil becomes infertile, they move on to the next patch. Then you have these massive projects, like the Narmada Sagar project in Madhya Pradesh, which submerged over 40,000 hectares of forest. Mining is another huge threat. The Buksa Tiger Reserve in West Bengal, a home for tigers, is ironically threatened by dolomite mining. And on top of all that, you have the daily pressures, collecting fuel wood for cooking and overgrazing by cattle.
Okay, let's pause for a second. I want you to think back to your childhood. Was there a specific tree in your neighborhood that just isn't there anymore? Maybe a type of bird whose song you don't hear in the mornings now. Shayad wa common si chiriya, the house sparrow, ab utni common nahi rahi. The truth is, we have all seen these small Jenga blocks falling. Let us know in the comments, which one do you miss the most? But listen, this story isn't just about loss. It's also a story of incredible courage and hope. And the real light in this story, it doesn't come from big governments or corporations. It comes from ordinary people, the voice of the people. So in this final section, we'll talk about solutions and we'll meet the real heroes. Of course, the government did take some steps. The Indian Wildlife Protection Act was passed back in 1972, which gave legal protection to a lot of species. And big initiatives like Project Tiger were launched to save our national animal. But policies on paper, they can only do so much. The real change, the real defense, came from the ground up. Just read this powerful quote. "The trees would be saved, even if it cost them their lives." This was the spirit of the Chipko movement, an incredible nonviolent movement where people literally hugged trees to save them from being cut down. The word Chipko itself means to stick to. Now, this slide tells one of the most amazing stories. The year is 1974, in Rainy Village in the Himalayas. Logging contractors show up to cut down a patch of forest. The officials had cleverly lured the village men away, promising them some compensation payment in a nearby town. They thought the coast was clear. But oh, they were so wrong. A woman named Gara Devi gathered 27 other women from the village. They marched to the forest and confronted the loggers. When just talking failed, they did something extraordinary. They wrapped their arms around the trees, refusing to move an inch. For 4 whole days, this small group of unbelievably brave women stood their ground. And in the end, the powerful contractors had to give up and leave. And this spirit wasn't just in one village. It spread like wildfire. In Rajasthan's Sariska Tiger Reserve, villagers actually used the Wildlife Protection Act to fight against mining operations. In the Alwar district, 5 villages came together and declared 1,200 hectares of forest as the Bairodev Dalku Sanctuary, their own sanctuary with their own rules, where hunting is absolutely forbidden. And in Terry, the Beach Bachao Andolan, or the Save the Seeds movement, began, all to protect traditional seeds from being replaced by corporate hybrids. These powerful community efforts showed everyone a new way forward, and it eventually started shaping government policy. This led to a new concept called Joint Forest Management, or JFM. It first started formally in Orissa in 1988, and it's all about one simple idea: partnership. And this slide explains perfectly how it works. It's basically a deal between the local communities and the forest department. The community takes on the job of protecting and managing a degraded forest, and in return, they get direct benefits, like being able to collect fruits, flowers, and medicinal herbs. And once the forest is healthy again, they even get a share of the revenue from the timber. It is a true win-win. It's kind of like a resident welfare association deciding to manage their local park with the municipal corporation. The residents keep it clean and safe, and in return, they get to enjoy a beautiful green space right outside their homes. And that brings us to our final, and maybe our most important question. Is one brave voice, like that of Gora Devi, enough to save our environment?
Or does that single voice need to become the roar of an entire community to truly protect our shared home, our